And, on back-to-backs, whether it's the first game or the second, his trainer, Mike Mancia, will consult with LeBron and see where he feels, and they'll let the organization know which games they'll be sitting out, as it pertains to those. Now, look, I've covered LeBron, been around him a while. There's one thing to have something planned. This is the plan moving forward. It's not a shutdown. I'm dubbing it a cool down for the rest of the way. Now, it's one thing to have it planned, but to actually have LeBron go and follow through with this minute restriction, that's another thing, because numerous coaches have tried to get him to play under a certain amount of minutes, and he's always fought through it and still end up playing close to 40 minutes. So I'm looking forward to see if he'll stick with the script.
You have covered him for a long time. I was talking to somebody in his circle yesterday that said, this year kind of provided clarity. Who we can count on, who we can't. It created clarity for me, which is the Lakers don't have any shooters. It's a shooters league, and you can't go from no shooters to a bunch of them in one off season. I don't think Anthony Davis solves it if they land him. And I'm not trying to overreact here, but I look at what they have. I look at what they'd have to give up to get Anthony Davis. I look at the lottery, which they're in right now, but a very little possibility to get a top 4 or 5 player. I don't see a ton of light at the end of the tunnel. I really don't.
Well, the thing is, if they're able to land Anthony Davis, and I think that's going to be the big home run that they have to try to knock out over the offseason or at some point into next season. Once you get those two on board, if you can get those two on board, then shooters can come, you can get those on relatively cheap basis. LeBron, he handles the ball so much. He does it all on offense that you need a shooter, because a lot of times he's only going to give you the ball with, a couple seconds left on the shot clock, and you have to shoot. You can't be like this team. I understood their plan moving forward with the way they designed this team this year, but it didn't make sense from the get-go. You just knew it was not going to work. You have too many ball-dominant players and not enough shooters. LeBron needs shooters around him. It only makes all the sense in the world. So I didn't think we'll be here when we're talking about the Lakers not being in the postseason, but I definitely thought we'd be talking about them struggling.
I've always felt that this is a weird team. I was told LeBron had complained, and complain's a strong word. He had said to people close to him in January, this roster doesn't make any sense. It's young guys I don't know. It's kind of old, weird guys who I don't connect with. Does he have a best friend on this team?
A best friend on this team? Well, the guy, who we see him communicating with the most is, Rajon Rondo. Right. As a veteran, a proven guy who has a championship experience. I mean, but look, you look at the core group of players on this team when you're talking about Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma. That's almost a decade gap between them, a little bit over a decade between them and LeBron James. And so there's a disconnect there. On the court, everything's fine. They're basketball players. You would think that they would figure it out. But just gelling beyond that, it's kind of impossible. Even when LeBron and Kyrie were playing together, the gap wasn't that large like it is now, but it took their time. It took time for them to kind of blend and form some chemistry and try to develop a bond off the court. It wasn't the best, as we know, but it was better. They were more together than what LeBron is right now with this.
There are Chris Haynes joining us. There are varying reports on LeBron's influence over the roster. Mm-hmm. Can you confirm or deny his influence? How much say does he have on personnel? Well,
I think obviously, he's LeBron James. They're going to come to him before a decision is made and get his opinion. Now, I don't know that LeBron has the overall say on yay or nay, but no, definitely they're going to get his input and get his feedback. And look, you would hope, LeBron always talks about this. He's like, I just play the game. So you would hope that if Magic or Pelinka feel strongly about a certain player and then they do go to LeBron to get his input and LeBron says no, you will hope that Pelinka or Magic, if they feel strongly, will stick by it because this is their team, this is their roster. I haven't heard anything saying that this season that LeBron did anything like that. But look, he does get input. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want to have overall say-so on roster personnel.
But he does have say-so on the coach, and it does look like he's never connected.
Well,
with Luke Walton, especially post-injury.
Well, look, I covered LeBron when he was over in Cleveland, when he came back, and when they hired David Blatt.
Could you sense immediately it didn't work?
Well, for sure.
You couldn't practice?
No, it was probably after the first week.
You knew it?
Yeah, you just knew it.
Why?
It wasn't just Bron, but it was the way they interacted, the way they responded to him, the way usually like when there's a revert figure, that's a coaching figure. Usually when he says something, like take Golden State for example, which kind of blew up what KD said about
Steve Kerr.
Usually when the post game, when the Steve Kerr or Popovich, when they say something at post game, well, we didn't play with fire, we didn't play with vigor, whatever it is. Usually that sets the theme for the rest of your post game coverage. So now you start asking all these other players on the team, the coach said this, and then they kind of expound on that. So it was real quick. Well, when David Blatt's tenure, he'll say something, and then you'll see the players going completely opposite of that, contradicting what the coach said. And so that's when you knew, okay, there's a disconnect here. And David Blatt, to his credit, he didn't sign up to coach LeBron. He signed up for a young team centered around Deion Waiters, Kyrie Irving, Tristan Thompson. Same with Luke Walton. He didn't sign up for LeBron James. So he was in a no-win situation from the get-go.
Yeah. You trust the Laker front office to get players, shooters? Do you trust them?
Do I trust them?
Magic's never done this.
Yeah,
Pelinka's never done this.
I need more body of work for me to fully say I trust that they can pull this through. Now, I trust the city of Los Angeles that this is just a hot destination that players will want to come to. But, I need more body of work, before I can go out and say that.
By the way, the Celtics played great against Golden State the other night. I prescribe to the theory that chemistry, once the playoffs start, always figures itself out. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to remember last year at the end of the year, the Warriors were like 7-10 down the stretch, and there was a lot of squabbling, and the playoffs started, and they, go 15-2. My gut feeling is Boston will get their act together. I still think they win the East. Milwaukee, I think the Celtics have an experience, edge, and depth of talent advantage over Milwaukee. If I said today, give me your Western Eastern Conference Finals, what do you look at?
Oh, man.
I do think Houston matches up well with Golden State. I don't think they'll beat him, but if Kenneth Faried is healthy, he's a physical presence.
Houston's the only threat in the West, in my opinion, to Golden State.
Yeah. How about in the East?
In the East, look, as of right now, I'm going to go with Toronto.
You like Toronto?
I like Toronto. I like Toronto, and I think we're dismissing them because their
history.
Yeah, their history.
They shrink.
They're in Toronto, but it's a new regime there. Kawhi Leonard's over there now, so I'm going with Toronto. But I will say this, Colin. Being around Kyrie, love him or hate him, he's difficult at times, extremely difficult at times.
You covered him.
I covered him, but the boy's a killer. He's an assassin, and he said it about a week ago that he was bored with the regular season and he wanted to get straight to the playoffs. So if Kyrie has another level, which I've seen him get to before.
Oh, yeah.
Then I have all the confidence. You want to talk about confidence. I got confidence that when he takes his game up, that's going to elevate everybody else. And so I'm not dismissing Boston, but as of right now, I just like how Toronto's been consistent throughout. And but man, when you talking about Kyrie in big games, man,
when you watched that first half the other night, the Celtics against the Warriors.
Yeah, I was there.
I mean,
I was there.
That was the best I've seen Boston play in 2 years. They looked incredible. Hayward's playing well last 2 or 3 games.
Yeah. If Kyrie can take that next step, which he's more than capable, if Gordon Hayward could get any resemblance back to the form he was in Utah, man, I mean, if that happens, we haven't seen the real Boston team all year.
By the way, I had this topic earlier this week, Joy and I did. I've been watching the NBA since the 70s, and I said, here are the faces of the NBA.
Okay.
And it's always been a great player. Now, you have to be a great player. You have to have either a huge flair to your game or your personality, usually. Kareem has never been the face of the league because he had sort of an aloof, brittle personality. Barkley had the personality, not quite the game, although he was great. Wilt, Dr. J, Bird Magic, Michael, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, and I said, who's the next face of the league? Kevin Durant, similarly, is a little brittle, has a little bit of an odd personality.
Yeah.
Some say Giannis, although Milwaukee, no playoff success, didn't domestically play high school or college. I didn't know who he was until year 3. Who is to you the face of the league next 5 years?
In order to be the face of the league, obviously you have to be at top of your game, one of the top 3 players in the league.
These guys all won titles.
They all won titles. You have to be personable. You have to be somebody who is wholesome.
Well, it's interesting because wholesome matters. It's an interesting word. Whereas Iverson wasn't seen as wholesome, and it hurt the ratings. Joy argues that Giannis is not polarizing and that all of these players, maybe not Dr. J, but they were all kind of polarizing.
Yeah. So in that case, Colin, so I would say this. If we're dismissing LeBron, we're taking LeBron out of the equation, I would say Steph. That's my go-to right now. Steph, the face of the league, because it's polarizing. 3-point shooting, we never seen anybody shoot like that. He's a wholesome guy, somebody the league can push. Kevin Durant has the temper, moody, league really can't push somebody like that. But let's bring up Giannis. I know, people can't pronounce his last name, but I will say this. There's never been a foreigner who's been the face of the NBA. Ever. He has the chance, the potential to get it to that point.
Well,
if he shows a little bit more personality and wins on the court.
It's interesting, Durant and Steph, because there's been 2 tandems since the 70s, since the 60s that have been the face of the league. Shaq, Kobe, Magic, Bird. It could really be Durant and Steph. I mean, if you just say it out loud, Durant, Steph win the championship this year. The Lakers are a train wreck, and Steph, Durant win the title again next year 4 times. They're the face of the league. They are the face of the league. No, the only question is we don't think they're going to be together. But if they win, I said this before, when Durant won his first championship, 5% of the people, 10% said, Durant's better than LeBron, and it washed away in a week.
Yeah.
Then last year, about 20% of the people, 25, for about 2 weeks, Durant's better than LeBron, it washed away. If he wins this year, Durant, and is the MVP in the finals, about half the people with LeBron not making the playoffs. So my takeaway is if you don't leave and go for a 4th, more people than not will be on the, man, LeBron can barely make the playoffs.
Yeah. That would be the difference. LeBron not making the playoffs, and then Kevin Durant goes on and has a tremendous performance in the finals, win the championship, finals MVP for the 3rd straight year. That's when you'll see more people jumping on the bandwagon saying Kevin Durant is the best player in the league and is the face of the franchise. But no, the tandems, I mean, if you're talking about tandems right now, that's Steph and KD.
That's the only one. That's
it right now. That's it. But still, even with KD, he's not he's KD. It's different.
He's prickly.
He's prickly. Steph is the guy who smiles and, he has his routine before games and everybody wants to come and see him do dribbling and shooting. That's why I think, he would be the face. But remember, Steph's, he's up there. It's not like he's going to have it to be the face the next 5 years. You got to be somebody younger. And that's where you got the guys like Giannis, potentially Anthony Davis, guys like that.
Yeah, I feel like I've been waiting for Anthony Davis.